So looking at why do we in the infrastructure landscape bother with refurbishment? Primarily to create newer, larger, not only offices, but can also be utilised spaces, transport hubs, a variety of different things. Cost efficiency, you can reutilise some of the existing building. And the other thing, of course, is location. We may have existing buildings that we're perfectly happy with, but if they've been around for a long period of time, they probably don't meet the requirements we need from an environmental perspective. Sustainability and carbon reduction is, of course, a key target for many organisations. So if we use London as a quick example, you see that 85 to 90% of Q1 leasing activity is based around refurbishment. So why does this matter for building refurbishment and fire protection and intumescent coatings? Potentially refurbishment impacts your structural frame, which we fire protect in many ways. We see a significant increase in buildings where they're looking to add additional floors, which impacts the structural frame significantly. We see a requirement for increased floor space utilisation. All of these things potentially have intumescent coating impact, but really what we're doing is 3 basic stages and how we try and tie this all together. It's about understanding what the building reconfiguration, extension, upgrade is going to look like, to understand how the structural frame is going to be retained and reused and upgraded, but also then how that impacts on our fire strategy and the different types of passive fire protection provision that we may look to provide. Why refurbishment projects break new build assumptions, and to stress that you inherit the design, not just the steel. So you may have the steel work, but you also have the design implications that came with that steel work. Intumescent coatings may have been designed for different fire strategies to what we now have. And we talked about extension of building height. Extension of building height may take us into different fire durations. It may take us into reorganizing compartmentation to provide escape routes, a whole variety of different things which potentially interact with the structural frame either directly in terms of the structural frame needs additional protection, or in terms of the interfaces when we're talking about changes in compartmentation, interfacing with the structural frame at different locations that we need to figure out how to protect. One of the big challenges we often have to face is incomplete, inconsistent, or missing documentation. So when we're looking at new build projects, everything is fresh in people's memory. Generally, you've got the same people involved with the team that been involved at the design stage. So you can ask people, try and understand where you have documentation gaps, what was intended. But if you wind the clock back 25 years or so, and you're starting to look at something which is specifically has gaps in terms of the information which comes with the project, that can be very, very challenging. In terms of greater reliance on the intumescent coating solution, essentially some of these changes to fire strategies may mean that we rely more heavily on the intumescence, and maybe we have to have a longer fire duration. Maybe we have removed secondary measures which help contribute towards the additional fire protection. Maybe we've actually altered the building such that we're now exposing the intumescent coating to a different type of environment, so not necessarily a fire environment, but a non-fire environment, which impacts things such as weatherability. What we're very keen to try and understand is how do the changes that we make start to impact on the building structure itself. And then finally, one of the things that we see is a lot of reuse decisions are very often driven by information gaps and conditions. In this day and age of the desire for complete traceability, any information gap generally has to be addressed somehow. That manner in which you address it historically may have been more along the lines of we're going to make best efforts, we're going to use a non-worsting type approach. The increased focus these days means that there are possibly more stakeholders pushing for, well, I'll tell you what, let's take it off and start again, which drives the situation more towards replacement than reuse, which would be our preferred option. Why this matters now. I think anyone that's in this market can't fail to have noticed the post-Grenfell shift in fire safety expectations. And we've always known that intumescent coatings are critical systems, but maybe they've not necessarily had the attention to detail that they, in fact, not just they and everything is getting in this post-Grenfell, Post-Building Safety Act environment. If you'd like to find out any more details about the Safina intumescent coating offer, please watch the remainder of the webinar or visit our website at www.safina.com.